Right. Look, Pute, good morning. Not good morning, good evening, right? Good afternoon. So, we'll start with animal tissues. We'll start with the animal tissues. And I gave you homework. What last week homework in order to draw some tissues. Tissues draw karagana mama homework එකක් දුන්නා මතක ඇති ඔයාලට. Okay? Right. So today we'll start with nerves tissues. අපි nerve tissue එකෙන් අපි start කරමු. මොකද nerve tissues පුතේ ටිකක් important type of tissue structure. Right? ටිකක් important tissue structure එකක් මේ nerve tissues කියන්නේ. So we'll start with nerve tissues. Okay? Right. So one other thing, now these tissues are animal tissues combined type of cells in order to perform several functions, several tasks in our body, and then tissues collectively perform a system. Tissues ගොඩක් එකතු වෙලා තමයි පුතේ system එකක් create වෙන්නේ. And then tissues and organs and then the tissues. So therefore we'll start with nerves tissues and we'll move on. අපි අද try කරමු මේ part එක ඉවර කරන්න. හරි මේ unit එක ඉවර කරන්න. Okay? Right, Puthi, write this topic, nerves tissues. Nervous tissues. Right. Guys, you need to draw this diagram. Diagram එකක් තියෙනවා අපි draw කරගන්න ඕනි. Diagram එකක් තියෙනවා දරුවෝ. Nerves tissues වල අපි ඒක draw කරගමු ඉස්සෙල්ලාම. You better draw this diagram, huh? Right. Hurry up and draw this. Okay, guys, right. So you better name this one. Dendrites here. And the center එකේ අපිට බලා ගන්න පුළුවන් nucleus එකක්. And then what we call cell body. what we call the cell body, and here these segments, myelin sheaths, and then the axon. Then the myelin sheaths. Myelin sheaths, and these in between these myelin sheaths you can observe node of Ranvier. And here the hurry up and draw the structure. Ikman karan. Hurry up and draw the structure.
Synapses.
Hurry up, Lamai. So here you can observe three different parts. Three main different parts of this sort of a nerve tissue. With a nerve tissue එක different parts අපිට තුනක් බලා ගන්න පුළුවන්. හරි? Hurry up and draw this. මම ඊට පස්සේ කියලා දෙන්න. Hurry up and draw. Hurry up, Lamai. So these nerves are capable of transmitting electronic signals. And it's very important for our sensation. Very important for transmitting the information from one place to another place in our body. Okay. From cell body to the synapses and intermediate, you can observe the axons. So this is the structure where all our informations, all our sensations were transmit throughout the body. Sensations are transmit throughout the body. Hurry up and copy this. ඉක්මන් කරන්න පුතේ. I'll give like another 1 minute. තව විනාඩියක් වගේ ඉක්මන් කරලා ඉවර කරගන්න. Okay, ළමයි we'll write. දරුවා අපි ලියාගමු මෙහෙම. We'll write this. And පුතේ you need to name this diagram. You need to name this diagram. මේ diagram එක name කරගන්න මෙන්න මෙහෙම. Structure of a neuron. Structure of a neuron. We'll write nerve tissue is a very important component. Nerve tissue is a very important component. Very important component of the nervous system. Very important component of the nervous system. Full stop. The structural unit of nervous tissue is nerve cell or neuron. Nerve cell or neuron. Okay. Nerve cell or neuron. Full stop. Neurons are specialized neurons are specialized in transmitting neurons are specialized in transmitting impulses. Neurons are specialized in transmitting impulses. Okay, right. Okay, then write this. अब මෙහෙම ලියා ගමු. ලියා ගන්න පුතේ මේ features of neuron. Features of neuron. Okay. Number one. පුතේ neuron එකක තියෙන firstම දේ තමයි අර මම ඔයාලට කිව්වා වගේ we can observe different segments, right? Mainly 3 segments, but එකෙන් අපි දෙකක් අයින් කරොත් අපිට ගන්න පුළුවන් cell body and nerve fibers. Cell body and the nerve fibers, right? So where the cell body and the nerve fibers are the two ends. Cell body එකයි nerve fibers තමයි two ends. ඉතින් ඔය දෙන්න තමයි තවත් neuron එකක් එක්ක combine වෙන්නේ. තවත් neuron එකක් එක්ක data transfer කරගන්නේ. Okay? Right. We'll write the first point. Main two parts in the structure which transmit signals or the impulses from one neuron to other. Number one, cell body. Number two, nerve fibers. Then the second one, axons are responsible for transmitting impulses away from the body. Away from the cell body. Then we have this dendrites. They receive the impulses. Dendrites receive impulses. And transmit to the cell body. Last one, Pute. We can observe myelin sheath. It's non-continuous structure called myelin sheath myelin sheath is speeding up. Myelin sheaths responsible for speeding up the transmission of impulses. Okay, I'll explain this again. මේ බලන්නකො පුතේ. මේ බලන්නකො මේක ලියා ගන්න ගමන් බලන්න කමක් නැහැ. Now you can observe two different parts in our neuron. එකක් තමයි පුතේ cell body එක අර ඉස්සරහින් තියෙන cell body එක and then the nerve fibers. ඒවා තමයි mainම two parts. Now axons are responsible for transmitting impulses away from the cell body. අපි මේ axons වලින් තමයි cell body එකෙන් එළියට nerve impulses ටික transmit කරන්නේ. Yes, why these axons are next to the cell body, you know, right? Then dendrites receive stimuli and transmit to cell body. Dendrites වලින් ගන්නවා stimuli එක අරගෙන ඉවරලා ඒක cell body එකට transfer කරනවා. Then non-continuous structures called myelin sheath, non-continuous structures, කැඩිලා වගේ තියෙන structures are responsible for the speeding up of the transmission of impulses. So hurry up and copy this. Then we will discuss about the different types of neurons. Hurry up. ඉක්මන් කරන්න පුතේ. Hurry up ළමයි. Now පුතේ, some additional information. Now inside our body, can you guess guys, now how many neurons should be there? අපේ බොඩි එකේ නියුරෝන්ස් කීයක් විතර තියෙන්න පුළුවන්ද ඔයාලා හිතන්න? Some hundreds, few hundreds, no, right, then few thousands, no, then few hundred thousands, no, then guess කරන්න බලන්න කීයක් ඇතිද? Not the exact amount. What approximate number? What do you know about this? Now nearly 135 billion. 135 billion neurons. That's huge, right? $135 million, that's huge. Billions. Okay, guys, right. Put the write this topic. ලියගන්න මේ topic එක. Write this topic පුතේ. Functions of neurons. Functions of neurons. හරි නේද පුතේ? Right. Look at this. Puti, now in our body we can observe different organs. Main 5 organs in our body which can collect information from our surrounding. අපේ body එකේ තියෙන organs 5ක්. These organs can collect some information from our surrounding. And then all these informations were passed to our brain, and then brain decide to take some actions if required. Okay, right. Now look, මේ බලන්නකෝ. හරි. පුතේ අපේ body එකේ තියෙනවනේ අර මම කිව්ව organs පහක්. ඕවට අපි කියනවා receptors. What we call receptors. Examples: ear, eye, tongue, skin, nose. These are the receptors in our body. These are the receptors in our body. Right? And then Pute, these were transformed to the brain, and then back to the effector. Then signal passed to the effector. Example: muscle sore, another neuron. Muscle sore, another neuron. So now in this process, both these passing information from receptor to brain to effector by the nerve system, by the nerves, by the neurons. So that's why it's very special in transferring data. Okay, could you please copy this? පුතේ copy කරගන්න ඉක්මනින්. Put it, then write this. According to the above explanation, according to the above explanation, according to the above explanation, neurons are responsible for neurons are responsible for neurons are responsible for neurons are responsible for receiving information from receptors, receiving information from receptors, receiving information from receptors, and then transmit information from transmit information from no, informations not from informations to the effector, informations to the effector, information to the effector. Okay, right. Hari lamai. Last point. According to the function of according to the function of neurons, 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 comma, they can be divided into three types. Three types. Three types. Three types. Okay ළමයි අපි ලියාගමුද මේ වර්ග තුන. Three different types. හරි. ලියාගන්න පුතේ මෙහෙම draw කරගමු. පොඩි structures ටිකක් draw කරගමු. මම structure එක පොඩිවට දෙනවා ඔයාලට. හරි? මේ real original structure එකක් නෙමෙයි. But to identify the structure. හරි structure එක identify කරගන්න. So by just looking at these structures, you can identify the real structure. Right. Maybe the broker again. Hurry up, Lamai. 3 different types. Here the cell body, then the axon, then the dendrites. Dendrite. Myelin sheath and the axon. Axon කියන්නේ පිටේ මේ මැදින් යන එක. Myelin sheath කියන්නේ අර segmented part එකක් තියෙන්නේ. මෙයාගේ cell body එක තියෙන්නේ වෙනම. And here what we call neurofibril node. Neurofibril node. Right. We'll name one by one. Interneuron, motor neuron, and then the sensory neuron. And then the sensory neuron. So could you please draw these structures with it? Could you please draw these structures? These structures are very important. හරි මේවා important වෙන්නේ ඔයාට identify කරගන්න පුළුවන් දැන්. You can observe the differences among each other. එකින් එකට වෙනස්කම් පැහැදිලිනේ. හරි. Hurry up and complete. Lamai, hurry up and complete. Putik mangkaramu. Right. Done. I think the time maker. We'll write. Hari, putih mehmali agan na. Write this putih. first of all, interneurons වල යටින් ලියා ගමු මෙහෙම. Interneurons, these neurons make up the most of the majority of neurons in the body. Majority of neurons in the body. Majority of neurons in the body. Full stop. Full stop. They are essential for transmitting. They are essential for transmitting information between. They are essential for transmitting information between motor neuron and sensory neurons. Transmitting information between motor neuron and sensory neurons. Right? Last point එකක් දාගන්න මෙහෙම. They play a key role in planning, learning and memory. Okay, next point. ඊළඟ point එකට යමු පුතේ. ඊළඟ point එක නෙමෙයි ඊළඟ මෙයා යටතේ කවුද? Motor neurons. Now motor neurons are kind of neurons which communicate information from the brain to tissues and organs through the body. Right? So allowing for movements. So we'll write under this motor neurons. Under the motor neurons, these neurons communicate information. These neurons communicate informations between brain to tissues and organs throughout the body. Allowing for movement, allowing for movement, comma allowing for movement. Right. Last one. Sensory neurons. පුතේ අන්තිම එක අපි කතා කරන්නේ sensory neurons ගැන. Write this. These neurons take these neurons take these neurons take these neurons take sensory information from the environment. Sensory information from the environment. Sensory information from the environment. From the environment. And sends the signal to the brain and sends the signal to the brain and sends the signal to the brain. Signal to the brain. Right. It's so simple then, huh? හරි ඔන්න ඒ වැඩේ ඉවරයි පුතේ අපි neurons ගැන කතා කරලා ඉවරයි. That's all about the neurons. That's all about the neurons. හරි. ළමයි අපි එහෙනම් ඊළඟ part එකට move වෙමු. ඊළඟ part එකට move වෙමු දරුවෝ. ලියා ගන්න topic එකක්. Try this topic. Try this topic. Epithelial tissue. Epithelial tissue. Right. Let's see why these epithelial tissues are important and what kind of functions and informations we can observe. Epithelial tissues. Right, but now these epithelial tissues are very important structures. Epithelial tissues are very important structures. You know why? Now, these tissues are responsible for making or the filling up the empty spaces in our body. අපේ body එකේ තියෙන empty spaces ටික fill කරන්න මෙයාලා. ඉතින් important නේ නේද? Right? Right, put draw this diagram. Put යටින්ම තියෙන්නේ basement membrane. And here you can observe the nucleus. And here, these are the tightly packed cells. These are the tightly packed cells. Tightly packed cells. Tightly packed cells. Hurry up. But you need to write one special point here. Make a special point එකක් තියෙනවා පුතේ අපි දාගමු. No blood supply. No blood supply within the tissue. No blood supply, but you can observe nerve supply. But the blood supply එකක් නැහැ, but we can observe a nerve supply here. No blood supply, but we can observe nerve supply. So now these type of tissues, I mean the epithelial tissues, are responsible for filling up empty spaces in our body. Filling up empty spaces in our body, right? Hurry up. ඉක්මන් කරන්න දරුවෝ. We'll write some examples then. Hurry up, Lamai, hurry up and complete. So you need to draw this diagram. So this is the basement membrane. මේ යටින් තියෙන පුතේ basement membrane එක. මේ membrane එකට තමයි අපි මේ cells ටික, ඒ කියන්නේ epithelial tissue cells were joined and then tightly packed. ලස්සනට tightly packed වෙලා තියෙනවා, and also contains nucleus. Nucleus එකකුත් තියෙනවා අපිට බලා ගන්න පුළුවන්. Hurry up and complete. We'll write some examples. Put the examples ටිකක් ලියාගමු, places where we can observe these epithelial tissues. Places where filled with epithelial tissues. A, number 1, skin. Or the epidermis. Number 2, thyroid gland. Thyroid gland. Number 3, linings of nasal cavity. Number 4, walls of urinary bladder. Number 5, wall of blood capillaries. Walls of blood capillaries. So those are the places where you can observe these sort of epithelial tissues. This sort of epithelial tissues in skin, epidermis එකේ තියෙනවා. Thyroid gland, in thyroid gland we can observe, and then the lining of nasal cavity, then the walls of urinary bladder and the blood capillaries. Those are the places. Those are the locations where you can observe epithelial tissues, this sort of tissues. So these tissues were used in order to fill the empty spaces or the gaps, right? Hurry up. Hurry up, Lamai. Putik Mankaramu. Right, done. Hari, Lamai, let's discuss about the functions. අපි ඊළඟට කතා කරමු මෙයාගේ අර දැන් fill up කරන function එකක් තිබුණානේ. ඒකනේ යාගේ main function එක. gaps fill කරන එක නේද? හරි. එහෙම නැත්නම් lining up free spaces නේ. හරි. ඊට අමතරව මොනවද තියෙන්නේ කියලා අපි බලමු. Right. Lamai, now other than that of the lining up of these free empty spaces of the internal organs, huh? So it protects these our body protects our body or the internal structures from pressure, friction, and even the microbial growth. Pressure එකෙන් protect කරනවා, microbial growth එකෙන් protect කරනවා, and even the friction, right? ඒක කොහොමද කරන්න පුතේ? Now just imagine if there is a huge gap between our body organs, what will happen? So it's not ready to absorb the external shocks. දැන් අපේ බොඩි එකේට එළියෙන් එන shocks absorb කරගන්න ready වෙලා නැහැනේ බොඩි එක එහෙම උනා. But now with the presence of these sort of tissues called epithelial tissues, it's responsible for absorption of these shocks. And also now in our skin even we have this barrier and this sort of epithelial tissues and which act as a barrier. ඉතින් ඒකත් barrier එකක් විදිහට වැඩ කරනවා. So it's very important. Then absorptive function, right? But now in our digestive tract, we have absorbed, we just absorbed in our digestive tract, it's absorbed some required nutrients or matter from the food. Now what will happen? So that food materials, absorbable food materials were absorbed through the epithelium in digestive tract, in our digestive tract. So it's very important to have this sort of. Then the perception of stimuli, the epithelium of tongue and nose detect the taste, smell and the senses. Taste, smell and all the other senses detect in apute. Tongue එකේ ඒ වගේම nose එකේ මේ තියෙන epithelium tissues, right? So then that's what we call the stimuli. අපි කලිනුත් කතා කරා. Then the secretory function. So this involves in secretions. Secretion of mucus by the lining epithelium of respiratory tract, and also filtering function. Epithelium of Bowman's capsule. Bowman's capsules in nephrons filter the blood. But අපේ body එකේ තියෙනවා මේ filtering mechanism එක. Now filtering blood, right? All the unwanted particles may filtered by using this system. ඉතින් ඒ system එකේ special part එකක් තමයි මේ Bowman's capsule made up of epithelial tissues, right? Write this question. පුතේ මේ question එක ලියා ගන්න. Hurry up and write this question. List out some important functions of epithelial tissues. You need to write the answer for this question. Okay, that's all about the epithelial tissues. But ඔය අපි කතා කරේ epithelial tissues ගැන. So it's very important to have a proper idea about epithelial tissues, where these epithelial tissues acts as absorbent, secretory surface, and filling gaps, provide protection, these sort of things. Okay, but write this topic, connective tissue. ලියා ගන්න topic එකක්, connective tissue. connective tissues. Right. Now the connective tissues. Puthi namimma kiyano connective. Mono hari dekak connect karanna onene connective tissues now. Right. Now these connective tissues were responsible for connecting or to make a connection in between tissues and organs. Tissues අතර organs අතර connection එකක් හදන එක තමයි මෙයාලා කරන්නේ. Making a connection. Making a connection. Okay, got it? So most connective tissues possess nerves and blood supply. Important point එකක්. Most of the connective tissues possess nerves and blood supply. Blood supply. Right? Okay, guys. We'll write ලියන්න පුතේ topic එකක් connective tissues. Write this topic connective tissues. Connective tissues. Right, පුතේ අපි ලියාගමු මෙහෙම. Connective tissues contributes to provide a connection between tissues and organs. Connection between tissues and organs. Tissues and organs. Tissues and organs. Full stop. Full stop. These tissues were composed of different types of cells and different types of cells and fibers. Fibres, fibers. Last point. Most connective tissues possess a blood and nerve supply. 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 Right, Pute, then write this subtopic. Write this subtopic, blood. Blood. ලියාගන්න පුතේ subtopic එකක් blood. Blood. Now, blood is a kind of connective tissue. Blood is a kind of connective tissue, and it consists of different types of cells. අපි පුතේ පොඩි කාලේ ඉගෙන ගත්ත මතක ඇති blood කියන්නේ mixture එකක්. Blood කියන්නේ heterogeneous mixture නේද? Blood means a heterogeneous mixture. So therefore, write this topic, subtopic, composition. Composition of blood. Composition of blood. Right. ඉතින් blood වල 55% තියෙන්නේ මොනවාද? Plasma. Blood plasma. Plasma includes water, proteins and electrolytes. Then 1% of platelets and other cells. Lymphocytes and monocytes. Then we have කීයක් ඉතුරුයිද? 45%, nearly 45%. මේක පොඩ්ඩක් වෙනස් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ නිසා තමයි 45 ආවේ. Red blood cells. Eosinophil and neutrophil. Hurry up and draw this structure. ඉක්මන් කරන්න පුතේ. Hurry up lamai. Ikman karan lamai. Were they finished? Right. Now දැන් මම ওই composition එක දුන්නේ පුතේ මට පෙන්වන්න ඕනේ වුණා මෙතන තියෙන මේ mixture එකක් කියන්නේ. blood කියලා කියන්නේ දරුවෝ mixture එකක් එහෙමනම්. හරි? not a single component. එක දෙයක් නෙමෙයි. Right, we'll write according to the above explanation, according to the above explanation, according to the above explanation, blood composed of different materials. Blood composed of different materials. Different materials. And blood is considered as a specialized connective tissue. A specialized connective tissue. A specialized connective tissue. A specialized connective tissue as it connects all systems of the body, connects all systems of the body and transports oxygen, nutrients and waste. Oxygen, nutrients and waste. Right, put write this question. ලියාගන්න මේ question එක. Need to complete as a homework, very simple one. Discuss discuss some functions of, discuss some other functions of, discuss some other functions of functions of blood tissue, blood tissue. blood tissue. හරි නේද? right, simple. මොනවාද තව එකක් තියෙනවා පුතේ, protection ගැන කියන්න පුළුවන්. අපේ body එකේ එන මොන හරි microbes ලා foreign particles මොන හරි body එකට enter වුණොත් අපේ blood fight against these microbes or the pathogens, right? That's by white blood cells. And now the transportation of materials like oxygen මම එක නම් කතා කරා. දැන් oxygen වගේ දේවල් transport කරනවා, nutrients වගේ දේවල් transport කරනවා throughout our body. ඉතින් ඒකත් හොඳ function එකක්. right, පුතේ last topic. ලියා ගන්න අපි last topic එක මේ unit එකේ. අදින් unit එක ඉවර කරමු. muscle tissues. Write this topic, muscle tissues. Okay, right. With the muscle tissues, now we can observe mainly 3 different types of muscle tissues. විනාශමාකාරයේ muscle tissues 3ක් බලා ගන්න පුළුවන් අපිට අපේ body එකේ. හරිද? 3 different types of muscle tissues. Now these muscle tissues, each type of muscle tissue responsible for different functions. එක functions වලට තමයි මේ කට්ටිය responsible වෙන්නේ. හරිද? ඔයාලා මෙහෙම දාගන්න. right? පුතේ අපි මෙන්න මේ විදිහට වැඩේ කරමු. මුලින් ඉවර කරගන්න ඕනේ නිසා. characteristic smooth muscle tissue, skeletal muscle tissue, then the cardiac muscle tissue. Right. Characteristic එක පුතේ. මෙයාගේ එක තමයි diagram. අපි ඉස්සෙල්ලාම දාගමු මෙයාගේ diagram එකක්. smooth muscle tissues ගත්තොත් මෙන්න මේ වගේ. pointed tips තියෙනවා, nucleus එකකුත් තියෙනවා. right? මේ වගේ structure එකක් තමයි smooth muscle tissue එකකට තියෙන්නේ. මෙන්න nucleus එක. Here's the plasma membrane. So nucleus embedded in the plasma membrane. Nucleus එක embed වෙලා තියෙනවා plasma membrane එකේ. Then we can observe skeletal muscles. හරි ළමයි මේ විදිහට අපි ටේබල් එකක් දැම්මහම හරිම පහසුයි ඔයාලට පාඩම් කරගන්න. Here the plasma membrane. Cardiac muscle fibers or the muscle tissues මතක තියාගන්න පුතේ group වෙලා තියෙන මෙයා. It's kind of grouped one or the branched, what we call branched. You can observe a special thing called intercalated disc. Intercalated disc, nucleus, and then the plasma membrane. And then the plasma membrane. Right. Okay, තමයි පුතේ diagram එක. ඉක්මන් කරලා draw කරගන්න. Then we'll discuss one by one. Then the locations. ඔයාලා draw කරන්න මම locations ටිකක් දානවා පුතේ. Walls of organs with cavities. Example, walls of digestive tract, uterus, blood vessels and bladder. Blood vessels and bladder. Special info වල දාගන්න. Do not fatigue quickly controlled involuntarily. Controlled involuntarily. Right, then the skeletal muscle tissues. පුතේ skeletal muscle tissues ගැන කතා කරනකොට මෙයාගේ locations තමයි පුතේ. What kind of locations? Bicep muscles, biceps, triceps, muscles in legs and facial muscles. Then the special informations about the special informations become fatigued easily. හරි ළමයි දැන් බලන්නකෝ මේ බලන්නකෝ පොයින්ට්ස් ටික හරි දරුවෝ දැන් ඔයාලට බලා ගන්න පුළුවන් characteristics of smooth muscles, skeletal muscles and cardiac muscles. Smooth muscles, skeletal muscles and cardiac muscles. Okay. Right now, according to the given table, you can observe three different types of muscles. I mean the diagrams. Diagrams do not bala. Okay. Right. So we look at the first one. Smooth muscles tissues bala smooth muscle tissues. Now in the smooth muscle tissues, nucleus and the plasma membrane only, and you can observe some pointed ends, pointed out chains here. In skeletal muscle tissues, fibers, nucleus, and plasma membrane, and it's not branched, unbranched. But cardiac muscle tissues, you can observe nucleus, intercalated discs, but the plasma membrane, but these tissues are branched. You know, the branch are right. So what about the locations? Smooth muscle tissues located at the walls of organs with cavities. Examples: blood vessels, bladder, uterus, digestive tract. Those are the examples. And the skeletal muscle tissues, right? They all over the muscles, right? So facial muscles, muscles in leg, triceps, biceps, these sort of muscles you can observe the skeletal muscle tissues. And finally, the cardiac muscle tissues in heart. Like, then the special information about these muscles. So, මේක තමයි ගොඩක්ම important day. මේක තමයි බලා ගන්න ඕනේ day. Now, special information about the smooth muscle tissues do not become fatigued quickly. කියන්නේ මහන්සියක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඉක්මනට විඩාවටපත් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. මොනවද? Smooth muscle tissues and control involuntarily. Control involuntarily. අපි හිතලානේ මේ control කරන්නේ. Right. Then what about the skeletal muscles? ඒවනම් ඉක්මනටම මහන්සි වෙනවා, විඩාවටපත් වෙනවා, and voluntarily control. අපි හිතාමතාමයි control කරන්නේ. Finally, cardiac muscle tissues never become fatigued. කවදාවත් මහන්සියක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ යාළුවා. විඩාවටපත් වෙන්නේ නැහැ ඒකට. Right? And also not only that, involuntarily control. Involuntarily. හරි, තමයි. Hurry up and copy this. මම කරලා copy කරගන්න. ඉක්මන් කරලා copy කරගන්න පිට. හරි අපිට කපේ දිස්කති මාක් කරමු. දරුවෝ අපි ඔයාලගේ second unit එක complete කරන්නේ already. නේද? අපි second unit එක already complete කරා. Then we'll start the third unit. Next week එකේදී අපි third unit එක start කරමු. Start the third unit and please be ready for first unit test. First unit test එකට ready වෙන්න ඕනි ඔයාලා. හරි? First unit test එකට ready වෙලා ඉන්න ඕනි next week. Okay. Putik mak කරන්න. හරි ළමයි. Right, Putik. Okay guys, now you finish copying, you can leave. हर अभी next week के लिए plan next week you can start करना third unit. Start your third unit and then ඔයාලා class එකට එනකොට second unit එක complete කරලා නම් තිබුණේ just ask for those recordings. our recordings ටික ඉල්ල ගන්න. recordings ටික ඉල්ලලා ඒක complete කරන්න. මෙන්න මේ නම් එකට message එකක්. ඉතින් මේ නම් එකට message එකක් දාලා recordings ටික ඉල්ල ගන්න. අවශ්‍ය කෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා. හරිද? අවශ්‍ය කෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා මේ නම් එකට message එකක් දාලා recordings ටික ඉල්ල ගන්න. recordings ටික ඉල්ලගෙන complete කරගන්න dot එක. okay? තේරුණාද? ඒක මොකද තමයි අපි අද ඔය පාඩම තමයි අද complete කරන්න ඕනේ. and could you please complete your exercise? exercise එක next week එකට complete කරන්නේ. ඒත් එක්කම අරගෙන recordings ඕනේ නම් මෙන්න මේ නම් එකට message එකක් දාලා recordings එක. okay got it? right, if you finish you can leave. එනවා අපි next week කියනවා. please be ready for the first unit test from this unit. okay, goodbye. have a nice day. I'm going to make a video. You know, I'm going to complete the